Back at it. Episode 4, All Ball, No Bull. It's your host, Jordon J. Will. Basketball world on fire. Greatest time of the year right now because, we got the NBA playoffs. Best playoffs in the world, obviously. But I promised I was going to talk about the women with this episode. And again, this is one of my, I guess you can say, narrative stories, whatever it is here. But, recently March Madness just passed. And the men typically that's the cream of the crop. That's what we're looking forward to. But times are changed, right? It used to be going online, looking in the comments, and people aren't too thrilled about the women when it comes to March Madness, and that's crazy. It shouldn't be a thing, but that was the case. We got to be real with that. That's what happened, and it was unfortunate, but like I said, times have changed. And when you look at the men's game, I think big names always push the product, and that's why they excel. So when you look in the past, the Kemba Walkers, the Carmelo Anthony's, Jimmy Fredette, Steph Curry's, didn't really have those this year. We're looking forward to the class coming up right now with Coop, and those boys. But this year with the men's, it wasn't hitting like it was supposed to. You can't even I can't even really remember like that. I'm a dookie, uh, but no one really stood out. We go to the women's game, and like I said, big names always push a product, always. And there were a few that we were looking forward to. Top of my head, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, obviously, Caitlin Clark, Juju Buckets, Cameron Brinks, Camilla Codorso. Like, you see, we're naming women who are pushing that product, pushing that game. And that's something we really haven't seen before. Now, obviously, if you follow the women's game since it started, you've had greats. You know, Candace Parker, Cheryl Swoops, Maya Moore, Darina Taurasi, Sue Bird, Brittany Griner, Skylar Diggins. That's a big one, especially for the WNBA because obviously in college Skylar was supreme. Like Notre Dame, Skylar was giving everybody a push, a go. She was a bucket, and then she took that and went to the WNBA. And for a period of time, she was that product. It wasn't as big as it is now, obviously, but Skylar Diggins, like I said, if you follow the game, you know some of these names. But then this new class that's coming in, they have something a little different because they're playing with marketability now. They're able to market themselves. They have endorsements. They have screen time to create personalities, right? This is why we love Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark because we saw the dynamic between the two um, when it came to on the court antics and off the court antics, what you're saying in an interview, right? It all creates some type of love or hate relationship with that player, which I think a lot of people have, developed in this process. And it's been beautiful. That March Madness that the women put on was amazing. And it's laying the foundation for the next generation to come and do the same thing. You haven't seen anything yet with these girls. Anything. Right now they are getting the exposure, and that's obviously the most important thing because the more exposure, the more hands in, and And the more hands in, the bigger the product can become, especially when it's consistent. But the skill and fundamentals of the women's game is actually catching up as well now. And I mean that in a very respectful way because like women typically can do the basics, really well. But I think you're seeing now, especially with like Caitlin Clark, for example. I gotta pinpoint a player that is just visually exciting to look at. She plays a really good brand of basketball, um, very precise, highly intelligent, makes the right decisions. Like these are things that we see in the men's game, and it's translating over to the women's game now. That Dinah Taurasi is rubbing off on these younger players, and they're really getting it and grasping it, and you're seeing it. Um, and in that finals run that Clark had, it reminded me a lot of like Steph Curry when he was at Davidson. And I know Steph, he didn't make it to the title game or anything like that, right? But when he was putting on that show and everyone took note, like, okay, this kid is serious. This, all around gifted, offensively player that can do everything from every level. And then when it comes to the moment, he just takes it to another level. That's what Caitlin Clark was doing on a team like Iowa that had pieces but didn't have enough pieces to take her to that next level, like Steph with Davidson. I think anyone who paid attention and followed that college season with the women's, they always knew that South Carolina was going to take it. Like I think we got to be real here. Uh, Caitlin Clark was great, but she can only do so much. And when you face a team like South Carolina and Don Staley is just, I think she is building her on like foundation and era that's going to be here for a long, 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 long time. Because that South Carolina program is just dominant. And in the women's game, when you're dominant, you think of like Tennessee, UConn, and that's the path that South Carolina is kind of going down right now. Don Staley is just, she's phenomenal. She's a highly intelligent mind in the basketball game. I think she would do well in the men's game as well if she was to come and coach as anything, like that Becky Hammond type of vibe. Just knows the game really well and what she's preaching to those kids because she's producing like top talent, number one picks. It seems like every year. These big girls. When I say big girls, I'm talking about position wise, professional. I mean, power forwards, centers. She's producing. She's breeding over there. It's crazy, and they all hitting in the WNBA. They all making noise. So for me, it was no shocker that Clark didn't finish the job and get that title, but it doesn't take away from her career and what she did in March Madness and the women's game in college. You can argue she's the greatest. You can argue she's the greatest. I'll say she's the most entertaining women's college athlete. The most entertaining. I'm hesitant to say all around because I think defensively, two-way side of the game, she lacks in elements that I think a lot of greats did have. For me, Maya Moore, that's just my goal. Like she played both sides of the ball, and she was really, really good on the offensive side as well. Like Clark may have shot better than Maya Moore, but I'm not really taking her anything else. It's that type of feel. So, Caitlin Clark, like I said, she did what she needed to do for the women's game. She's gonna be a legend, an icon. She's gonna take it to another level. And you leave, you know, your your counterparts in a way, uh, Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins, um, coming back for another year to see what they can do, to see if they can take it to another level, right? 'Cause I want to see that again. I want to see Paige and Juju go at it once again. Give me another one, a volume two. Give me a sequel. I have to because those are two killers who I think would really show people like, all right, this is basketball. It's not to take away from the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark little rivalry they had. Juju and Paige are more so you're seeing skill sets being displayed at a level a lot of people can't do. Ball handling, shooting, mentality. You encompass that in one and you get something nasty. Cameron Brinks does her thing, makes some noise, makes her name for herself, right? I said a lot of these women are using this platform that we live in today's age to build their brand, and rightfully so, right? Get your money, do what you gotta do. And that girl's playing the media so well. She's a good girl. And she's playing in LA. It's a great market for her, you know, highly connected to the Curry family. I think she's like the god, someone's her godfather, godmom, or something like that. I grew up with Steph and everybody. So that just tells you where her head's at and that she's going to be able to handle that pressure in LA because that's a winning franchise as well. They, Lisa Leslie, what they did with the Sparks, that's a lot. You got to do a lot of weight on your shoulders. And a lot of rookies aren't built for that. But I think she is. Defensively, she gets it already. Needs to calm down on fouls. Scoring will come, but the intangibles and just moving, I think, quicker than most rookies have, adapting to the women's game because it is physical. And a lot of these women are coming to the game right now are younger, playing with vets. I'm talking about 8, 10 years in the league, 11 years in the league. But she's holding her on, building her brand. She's going to be fine. But I more so want to dive a little bit into what I think is the new era of women's basketball, or what could be, right? And I think we start with obviously the number one pick, Caitlin Clark. She goes to Indiana Fever. Um, Aaliyah Boston, she's team whip. Kelsey Mitchell is over there as well. but they're clearly a project. And that's when everyone needs to realize, be patient. Don't go crazy with this girl. Don't go crazy with them because Caitlin Clark's the number one pick. But prior to that, it was Aaliyah Boston, who is from South Carolina, another product, just like Camila Cadorso. And Aaliyah Boston is a monster, like Zach Randolph, a type of style, bangs low, gets boards. She's young, but still needs time to. It's different just displaying your skills and showing people what you can do, but having that rub off on your teammates, making it flow a little bit easier for everybody else as well, which then translates to winning basketball. That's what they haven't developed yet. And you have two, like I said, number one picks, still trying to figure it out. And they got a great third option in Kelsey Mitchell, right? But it's going to be a couple years, 3 years until they get enough pieces, enough experience to make some more noise. But you clearly see they own every, it seems like, game now on ESPN or something. You see Caitlin Clark chucking up threes from half court. Arena's full. Everyone's there. It's progress. And they're doing a really, really good job. So I have faith in those girls, but yeah, I'm not taking any grain of salt with these L's that they're taking and some of the growing pains that Caitlin Clark's going through with her scoring and efficiency. It's the same thing that a lot of killers have to adjust to, and people who just are meant to score. It's not going to be something that they develop right away. Like especially a player like her caliber, because she doesn't depend on athleticism, right? So it is a lot like skill set and repetition. So once she gets the motions down and enough playing time, it's cooked. And I think you're seeing it. She's stringing in some games where she's knocking in, 15 plus, 20, 19. Like Caitlin's right there. Aaliyah Boston needs to adjust as well. I think she's adjusting the plan with Caitlin. She was the focal point last year, and now it's like, all right, I'm shifting and giving this to a perimeter dominant player who doesn't rely as much in the paint like I do. Adjusting to pick and roll, you know, Caitlin has to involve Aaliyah a little bit more as well. Use her vision, her playmaking to develop a really, really good, not even really good, a she has the potential to be Chris Bosh X level, but better. Take it a step further. And I think that's a very, very solid comparison. Chris Bosh was a multiple time champion, produced on his own in Toronto, straight buckets. I'm saying Leah Boston can be that, and then even better because her defensive ability. I think her motor as well is slightly and a tad better than what I've seen from Chris Bosh. And if Kayla can bring that out of her, then the sky's the limit for those girls. And then, her counterpart in a way, Angel Reese, goes to the Chicago Sky. And you also have Camila Cadorso coming as well. And this is a little tricky one because the Sky have just lost the best scorer in the game in Kalia Cooper. Finals MVP, won of a title. So you're losing out on a a piece that's probably in her prime, almost there, maybe really young still. With the Phoenix Mercury now, traded her, right? That's how we essentially got Angel Reese in Chicago. But like in the same case as Caitlin Clark, she comes to a situation where it's gonna take time. You got to be patient, and she's doing really well. I believe 12-7. Get out, double check, but 12-7. Um, Battling with vets, uh, Alyssa Thompson, uh, pardon me, Alyssa Thomas comes and basically throws it to the floor, banging her around, showing her who's boss, which is expected, especially with a player like Angel Reese, known for somewhat running her mouth, quote unquote. But she's a young gun, and she's not backing down from nobody. She actually embraced what Alyssa Thomas did in the interview and said, they're not gonna back down on me because I'm a rookie. And she said she's glad she did it because it just made her want to come back and be stronger. Right? This is nothing that we didn't expect from Angel Reese, and I think people need to calm down with these takes and these. Oh my God, Alyssa Thomas violated Angel Reese. What? Stop it! It's basketball, and it's a rookie and a vet moment saying, "Hey, welcome to the game." And this is not about to be sweet. You're not about to come in here and think you're doing what you. Nah, that's all that was. And the rookie said, "Okay, I got you. I heard you. But check it. I'm not leaving either." That's what I love. Y'all gotta stop that. And I know it's like, come on, nah. This is that competitive nature that Angel Reese is bringing to the game, and that's what makes her amazing. Something slightly different from Caitlin. Her brand is that trash talk, that grit, that I'm gonna do the things that nobody else wants to do. I'm a winner title at LSU. Like that's who she is. And when have we ever been talking about moments like that have gone viral like that in the WNBA in a long time? She's a rookie doing that, bringing attention, bringing ratings. She loves it. She's from that Draymond elk. That is her potential, I think, and that's a really good one too. Multiple time winner when it comes to rings, and you know what he brings to the team. That's what she can do. She develops that shot, gets it going, which I think she will. No worries in my mind. Just her mentality and knowing how tough it's going to be, especially playing in Chicago, where there isn't really another, you know, I guess you can say, option that can produce like Kalia Cooper did. Um, she's gonna have to definitely step into that role. Marina Mabray was doing a really, really good job now. She was doing a really good job when Cooper was here. She's taking it to another level in a sense, efficient, but that's not going to be enough. Camilla obviously hasn't played yet. It's going to make her debut pretty soon. If I'm not mistaken, it should be against the Fever and Caitlin Clark. So that should be exciting. But that's going to add another layer to a very, I think, promising team in a way because they're building an identity. Angel Reese is one piece in that. And now you bring in Camilla. who is, I mean, have you seen her? Look at the height and what she did with South Carolina getting that ring against Caitlin Clark. Um, you have a really good option there with Reese to build, I guess you can say, the Twin Towers defensively, um, building that grit, hard, driven type of style and system that I think Chicago needs and wants, and you build around that. So I'm envisioning it's going to be a very challenging season for this guy. I'm not expecting a title. I think you still need to be patient, but the potential is there. And if they play it right, if they do what they need to do, try to get a pick in that draft. Because you clearly see what the Fever are doing, right? They're stacking up on talent. This here is a three-man or three women that goes for NBA and WNBA driven league when it comes to teams. You need three players, option one, option two, and option three, to produce. That is what the Sky are going in, that direction. They have two right now, I think, are solid. They have shown potential. But there's one in college that they can potentially get if she goes number one. She's going number one. It's not if. She is going number one. And you partner her up with Angel Reese, Camilla. She got two Twin Towers. I think you're creating a dynasty. I mean, a dynasty, monster over there in Chicago. I think y'all know who I'm talking about. They already got, like I said, two big pieces. You need a guard to drive that offense now, to push that break. And I think Paige Beckers would be a phenomenal pick. Her with Marina in the backcourt, two efficient shooters, tagged in with two really good defensively young talent over there in the paint. You add in pieces. Chicago Sky will be back. There will be another title in that cabinet in the next 3 to 4 years. That's granted management is doing the right decisions, making the right decisions. Plan this the right way. I know it sounds good seeing Angel Reese in the playoffs. You're making money, right? But you're not going to win. So why would you position yourself like that? You got to think long term. I'm not saying tank, but hey, think long term. Take from that what you will. But besides that, with the WNBA and the young talent that's come in and has made noise, there's also the talent that's been there, that has been producing, that has made a name for themselves. The defending champions, the Las Vegas Aces, MVP Aja Wilson, who is that Caitlin Clark talk, coming in saying she was going to be the best player. That's disrespect to Aja Wilson, who is the best player. in the league. Period. That is the best player. And they're doing it again. They're showing you this year. I mean, the team is just stacked. Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Aja, uh, Chelsea Gray. I mean, it's a good chance they might run it back, repeat, because a lot of teams can't compete with four different options that can give you buckets. And Jackie Young, I think, is the most impressive one out of that bunch right now. Aja's putting up obviously MVP numbers. KGS 25 and 10 plus on her way to another MVP, right? I say Jackie Young because she's developed into a very, very. I mean, you could say she's. I love Kelsey. Kelsey Plum is good, but Jackie Young is kind of overtaken. Maybe as that second option. You can say this year at least 20 plus points per game, at least top five, top 10 in the league, producing right alongside Aja. Kelsey's having a great season as well. But that is a great option to have. 2 to 3, kind of battling for that second option. Kind of looking like Golden State when they were just running the league. I mean, you really got to see another team assemble another cast like that who can go pound for pound. I mean, that's what it is. And the Aces will be in the finals for the next 2 to 3 years, whatever, until somebody figures it out and can compete with them. I remember that run that the Lynx had. They were in the finals like every other year because nobody had enough talent to compete with Simone, Maya, Lindsay Whalen, Rebecca Brunson. No one can do that. Like they just had too much talent on a given night, and they was all hoopers too. It's just the same thing with the Aces. It's like who can match that talent? And I think the obvious answer would be, like I said, if you kind of know who the faces are of the league and who's who in the women's game prior to Clark and Reese coming in. Right now and back then, it's Aja Wilson and Brianna Stewart. Stewie from UConn, Wilson from South Carolina. Stewie's been in the game a little bit longer, but has a championship, MVP. She's a killer on the perimeter and in the inside. Can do everything. Nasty. Aja Wilson is more so, in the post, in the paint. Killer defensively. One point Stewie was leading that charge for being the face of the league, and Aja has somehow, come and taken that away from her, and she's leading the charge now, and she's on top. But that's going to be the battle until someone develops that mentality like those two, because they push the charge with their teams, and they have the talent with their teams. It's not just Aja with the Aces, and then it's not just Brianna with the Liberty. Now, New York has a squad. Brianna's one thing, but then you got Sabrina, Steph Disciple, Kobe Disciple, Courtney Vandersloot. Miss her in Chicago. I think one of the best point guards best that has ever stepped in the WNBA. Just knows the game, assist leader. It's ridiculous. And she's aging like fine wine. Probably on her way out. Like I said, it's a 3-person league. You need 3 women at least to make some noise compared to a team like the Aces. And they got multiple. It's more than just 3 with them. The whole team is just good. But the Liberty would be my pick to maybe somehow figure it out. But I just think age is too dominant right now. This is her reign, her era. No one's touching her. Says between her and Stewie for face of the league, but it's Asia, 25-12 right now. At this moment, at least 25 points and 12 rebounds. People used to make fun of the women's game and say like, "Hey, stats that they're putting up just don't match up to the men's." Tell me what men is averaging 25-12 and we're looking at them and laughing. Nobody, because that's buckets, and that's what she's doing in the women's game. It's 25, and that's nothing to her. We looking like what? That's MVP type of numbers. Jokic, 25, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 10. Like, come on. She's not doing the assists, obviously. But when it comes to her defensive presence and what she does on that end and how she affects the game, and then winning, she is a low post technician. She's not even in that Jokic. Oh, she's in that Hakeem Olajuwon. And I am not saying they're the same player, but when it comes to how they affect the game and what they do, Aja Wilson has it. And this is her league. If you got sleepers, I guess, we're talking sleeper teams, right? Seattle would be somewhat of an option, I guess. You got Jewel Lloyd over there. A lot of people have different opinions about Jewel, but I like Jewel a lot because she's that Juju Watkins like 3-level scorer, can give you buckets, high volume, right? I think that's where a lot of people kind of with the game because it's high usage. It's going to be inefficient basketball somewhat, but she can get buckets. I know any given night she can give me 25 plus. And if you partner that now with the signings of Skylar Diggins, the Notre Dame connection there between Jewel and Skylar both playing with the Irish, someone that can take the pressure off the ball with her, she can just strictly think about shooting now and not creating and trying to score. And then you got Nneka Ogwumike as well. We already know what she did when she came into the league and what she's still doing. A all-time great legend will be going to the Hall of Fame. Like I said, 3-person league. Is that enough? No, but it is somewhat of a sleeper because I'm not going to shy away from someone who's won a title and I believe in MVP and Nneka. Skylar is a multiple time All Star, has done it on each level. And then Jewel Lloyd, leading the charge right now, is the young gun. Reigning scoring champion. threat somewhat. And then obviously I can't forget about, I think, they're leading the charge right now in the Connecticut Sun, but they're led by, in a way, vets who are playing a different level of basketball. Dewana Bonner, OG for me because I remember her Mercury days and how she was just tenacious and just brought that threat. Um, and then you got Alyssa Thomas over there as well, who's producing this year. I think like 15, almost close to 10 rebounds, both sides of the ball. They, I think, shock people just by how many games they've won. And I'm not going to be premature and just hop on that wave and say, oh, they're going to win it all because they're the number one seed right now. I just think it's teams are still a little wet behind the ears, and others got to figure it out. But when you got vets who can already have that in their bag, the experience, you know, don't need like 5 to 10 games to get ready. They've been there. They're gonna produce, and I think that's what the Sun are doing. Um, but I can't push them for any type of noise to the Aces. I would need to see some type of trade that happens, that develops, that can improve their team enough where they can make some more noise. But nah, just don't got the faith like that. There's also one I forgot about, and this one is funny because there's an OG here who I think plays a huge part in the game. She's done a lot for this game where, narratives always push. And someone needs to go out on a good note. In the Phoenix Mercury, obviously have Diana Taurasi. Brittany Griner will be back. Like I said, got Kalia Cooper. Bucket getter right now, leading the league in scoring, close to 30 points per game. The Mercury will always be a threat. And Diana Taurasi, close to 20 points per game at the moment. And her graveyard years, it just sounds like a good story. Sounds like a great story to me. And we'll see who she needs to go through to get to that, right? But seeing Brittany Griner back in the WNBA again and making some noise, trying to get her footing, these will be good stories. And I don't think we should ever shy away or not think that this won't be taken into consideration. Storylines, people. Storylines. And that trade that they got with Kalia, I just think might put them over the edge. She's a winner already, right? She's done it. She's shown you. And you just paired up with two OGs who still got something to give. I don't know, man. This season is it's nice. It's fire. I love it. It's moving quickly. 2 games are happening. I gotta really set aside the time to catch them back to back like I need to. But for what I've seen so far, phenomenal. I love the support from a lot of the men too coming to the games, showing up, showing love. Everything's been great, and it's only going to get better. It's the crazy part. The game moves so quickly. I think the women's game is going to start up. Boom, men's boom. It just it happens. It happens. It happens, and then probably going to be pushed in. New faces, new storylines. Shouts to the women, man. I'm like March Madness this year was just it was different. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I'm excited for the next one. Not gonna tell you who my pick is gonna be for winner, but you know me, you know me. So, um, but yeah, this has been a fun one. Episode 4, all ball, no bull, all ball, no BS. Always great to talk to you guys and give my little takes and giveaways and things I've noticed the past events. I really can't wait to talk about the NBA too, the playoffs. Probably the best in the last few years. I have not been pleased with the product I've seen. But yeah, we're gonna get to that one. But before I get out of here, I will be dropping more material. I do my little reels, my clips on my platforms. Really excited because I just got all ball, no bull, all ball, no BS on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to actually listen to the audio and not just see me on screen, that's an option as well now. But please make sure you follow me on Facebook, on TikTok at All Ball No Bull, on Instagram at All Ball No BS, and on X at All Ball No BS. Like I said, we'll be dropping more content, uh, but I'm taking my time with this process because it's beautiful. I like seeing these stories unfold, um, hearing the dialogue amongst the community when it comes to things. I was really proud of that Kyrie one because now you're seeing where everything that's going on. It's all connecting. It's all adding up. So shouts to the women again, like I said. Y'all put on an absolute show. Got people talking, got people excited at the games, in their seats. Yeah, it's fire. But you already know. Enjoy your day. Try to do something productive. Try to get there. Try to get better. It's a new 24. I love you.